Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org. Edina Eye Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years now in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services and dedicated specialists committed to excellence, with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Welcome to Access to Democracy. Alan Miller back with you. I'll get the name straight sooner or later. And we are here with a guest who has been with us probably a dozen years, was a fledgling business person a dozen years ago and has become a tycoon. Paul Werni of 45th Parallel Liquors.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
We're so happy to have watched the growth of your organization, which, as we were just talking about, has quadrupled in a dozen years. Located in New Richmond, Wisconsin. It's Minnesota's loss, and you could probably tell us the story about how you ended up in Wisconsin.
Well, when we started up, it wasn't possible to do it in Minnesota. And so Minnesota had a permit fee that was designed to keep small distilleries out of the state. And it was a $30,000 annual permit fee. Wisconsin's permit fee was only $1,000. And so we ended up having to move over there. The law has since changed and it's easier to do it in Minnesota. And so we had actually just opened up a small distillery in Stillwater.
And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But the fact of the matter is the success of 45th Parallel in New Richmond, Wisconsin is one of the reasons that Minnesota revisited its fees.
Yes.
And has opened it up for quite a few businesses, thanks to you. But no thanks to them because you could have been here. Now you started really with 45th Parallel Vodka.
Yes.
And how did you strike that name?
I used to drive by a sign that said you were at the 45th Parallel, and I wondered about it over the years. And I have a close friend that was a chef and a wine connoisseur. And he said that some of the most famous restaurants in the world are near the 45th Parallel. It's actually a spirit producing region in France and in Italy and other parts of the world. And then I also read that most grain in the production of vodka is grown above the 45th Parallel. So that's where we came up with it.
Now your vodka, which I am a big fan of, and that we can take judicial notice of that, is unique. It's a corn-based vodka.
Yes.
And you have a very stringent purification system for that vodka, which makes its taste really unique. And it's marketed at really good restaurants.
Yes.
And certainly Total Wines has it.
Yes.
other vintners, but Total Wine's definitely.
I think what makes the vodka unique is that it's a batch vodka. It's not out of an industrial continuous column. It's made in single batches with a pot still and a fractional distillation column that's of copper that helps it, and then the carbon filtration is, carbon has a lot to do with the final product.
And that's part of the purity.
Yes.
And the distilling process. But with the success of 45th Parallel Vodka, you have moved on rapidly over the decade to where you're producing so many things now.
Yeah, there was a gentleman that met me, and he knew that we made vodka from corn, and so he asked us if we would start making bourbon, because they were a corn outfit, and they wanted some of their corn to go towards making bourbon, and since then, that is really what grew our business over the years.
Limoncello
Yes.
in several flavors.
Yes.
Aquavit,
Yes.
gin.
Yes. Yeah, we do develop gins and different products for other companies. So they'll call us up and they'll give us, we would like to develop something like this, and then we work on it.
And it's boutique in the aspect that you will put their label on.
Yes. Yes. So we do. It's called contract distilling. So we will make products for other people, and either we ship it to them in bulk or we bottle it ourselves for them.
You do both.
Yes.
Yeah. And you started out with one building in New Richmond,
Yes.
and you did everything in one building. Explain how, like Topsy, it just growed.
Well, it was a one-person shop when we started out. We was only 3,000 square feet. But as we started producing more, we needed space, and we expanded a couple times with the one building, and then we added 2 more buildings. But one of the buildings is for being a destination location. In the beginning, it was a small farm community, no tourism, but it's developed as a destination, so we get a lot of people coming in now, and so we have a restaurant and a bar that's been added to it in an event space.
A very unique bar.
Yes.
In a very unique restaurant. Explain a little bit about the bar.
One of my roommate in college is a designer, and he designed the building for us. And it was his concept that the bar is a circle, and the top of the bar, it represents the 45th parallel around the world.
All around the world.
Yeah. So we have a mezzanine, so you can look down at that bar and you can see the 45th parallel around the world.
And I probably have a picture of it on my phone.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because you can look at different, you don't even realize certain places are on the 45th parallel. I never realized that Crimea is on the 45th parallel. So.
And it really is unique. Mm-hmm. And with the restaurant, and you also have now a large event space.
Yes. So we're pretty busy. We actually, the event space we'll be hosting a wedding this weekend. We host a farmer's market on Sunday, and that brings in a lot of people.
As you have grown, so has New Richmond grown also. It's really amazing to see the difference.
New Richmond is probably one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Wisconsin. It is really growing. It's changed quite a bit in the last 15 years since we've been there. It's exciting. It really is. It's in the beginning, I wasn't sure about the location because we were alone and out in a field.
But your success has brought in...
It's exploded. There's buildings all around us now.
Yeah. And there's a brewery right next door?
Yes. The brewery is Liftbridge out of Stillwater. Kind of ironic that they have a location next to us, and now we just opened up a location in Stillwater.
And let's talk about that, because now you're back in the state of Minnesota.
Yes.
Where you had intended to start.
Yes.
And what exactly do you have in Stillwater?
It's really a small location. There's a restaurant called Proper, and they're linked with Lolo's. So they have the first half of the building on Main Street. We have the second half of the building. So when you look out our door, you're kind of looking at the lift bridge, and the old historic lift bridge. And it's a small production area, but it's really designed for people to come in and see, foot traffic in Stillwater, to come in and see our products, to talk to our people. And so people in Minnesota actually know what we do.
Now, did I cover all the products that you're making now, or are there more?
I think the biggest category are the different types of whiskeys that we make. So it's really kind of hard to go into all of that. Because whiskeys take so long to develop. If we think about making something now, it's not going to see a bottle for about 5 or 6 or 7 years. But we do have some heritage grain whiskeys that we released actually on our 15-year anniversary, and that was about a 7-year project. We're working with a local farmer that wanted to grow some heritage grain, and he wanted to know if he grew it, would we buy it, and we did, and that was one of the better decisions that we made, because it did make a really nice whiskey.
This takes aging, however.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. It took 7 years. So when we first started talking about it, then he grew his first crop, and then we mashed it and fermented it and distilled it and went in the barrel. And 6 years later, we pulled it out of the barrel, and this is some pretty good whiskey.
Now, speaking of barrels, you just don't get a barrel any place. The barrels are very, very specific. Barrels are also very expensive. So let's talk about aging these products in barrels.
There's been a supply chain issue and labor issue in this country for the past year or so, a couple of years, and that really has hit the barrel making industry, the cooperages. We've been seeing massive price increases in the wood, and that all has to do with the lumber, the loggers, and also there's been a shortage of barrels. So not every distillery can get barrels, or they've been cut off, or they've been limited in how many barrels they can get because there's such a high demand for them. So that's probably one of the more challenging parts of this industry. We're one of the fortunate ones. We do have a good supplier. They've held on to us even though we're a small company, because they usually make, their customers are big customers. Their customers are like Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, and fortunately.
And 45th Parallel.
Yeah, but we don't make near the whiskey that some of these places do that they deal with.
You don't make near the whiskey in quantity.
Yes.
But you do make it in quality.
Yes, we hope so.
And, well, you've won a lot of awards.
Yes.
For your various products. So let's talk about them briefly.
Our whiskeys have won awards over the years. Our vodka's probably won the biggest awards, and that was back when there weren't that many many distilleries, and so you could go to a competition, and they would really analyze it and take their time with it. Now there's a lot of different spirits out there, and I think the competitions are a little bit less important these days than they were maybe 10 years ago.
But you have in the old bar.
Yes.
You have a whole series of awards that you
Yes.
have won there.
Yes.
And displayed really all over behind the bar. Now,
Yeah.
you do sell to the general public also,
Yes.
so we should mention that.
Yeah, we have a retail space in New Richmond and in Stillwater. The laws are a little bit more favorable in Wisconsin than they are in Minnesota. For example, 2 distilleries recently have left Minnesota and gone over to Wisconsin. One was probably Minnesota's most successful distillery, and maybe not the largest, but the most successful one. They just went into River Falls. They put up a multi-million-dollar facility. And then another one is in Hudson now. And one of the main reasons is the ability to sell out of your own location in Wisconsin is almost unlimited. Whereas in Minnesota, they have caps on how much you can produce and then sell out of your own place. And you can sell, up until recently, you could only sell 1 375 milliliter bottle per person per day.
Was that right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't. It makes it harder for a small craft facility to make a living.
And it also diminishes the amount that the state can bring in income. I
Yes.
mean, it makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, some laws are made to, a law sometimes that limits one industry is made to protect another industry's turf.
Well, that's really what happened with your initial license.
Exactly.
They didn't want the competition. The people who were here didn't want the competition, and now you have really sold them, and you have proved that what you have is a product that people are going to come after and buy.
It's changing around the entire country. It's just some places are a little slower than others. I think in Wisconsin, fortunately, those laws were never set into place because there really wasn't a distillery in the state of Wisconsin, so they didn't. There wasn't any desire to limit things. In Minnesota, you had a large producer that saw this trend coming, and they wanted to protect their area, which is understandable. But the trend around this country is craft.
Sometimes, however, protecting yourself diminishes the industry itself.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a selfishness that you're afraid of competition. Well, if you have a good product, you shouldn't be afraid of competition.
Exactly. And, one industry shouldn't be there just solely to provide for another industry. That industry should be able to stand on their own and make their own money, hopefully.
Now, you have an event once a year, and I think it's September 24th
Yes.
this year. I called it the annual festival, but the name has changed now. It's Barrels and Bluegrass.
Yeah.
And
The reason why it's Barrels and Bluegrass is one is we do make a fair amount of whiskey. And the second reason is our music is bluegrass. When it started out, it was blues, but it was a little bit of a hard music for some people. Bluegrass is kind of a fun music, and everybody can enjoy it. Any age group can enjoy it.
But you don't have just one band when you have this festival.
We have multiple bands.
You
yes.
have multiple bands.
Yes.
I was there last year after things opened up from the pandemic. You could not fight your way into the facility.
Yeah.
There were literally thousands of people from all over the Midwest who were coming for the day.
Yeah.
Were coming to have something to eat. You have food trucks there.
Yeah.
As well as your own restaurant. And in addition to that, they bought liquor, they stayed, they enjoyed it. It was very festive.
Yeah, it's become
not for the claustrophobic, but very festive.
It's becoming an annual event to where as soon as it starts to get nice out, we start getting calls and people start asking us, when is it this year? when is it this year? And I always tell people it's always the last Saturday in September, and that's when we do it.
And you have these bands from all over the area that come in.
Yes. Yeah, we hire a company out of Minneapolis, and they pick out the bands for us.
Now, you have this large party room. You actually cater to occasions. In fact, would you say you have a function this weekend?
Yes. Since we have our own customers in the bar area and the restaurant area, if there's a large event in our event space, then we tend to ask, we have caterers come in and use our kitchen, and they cater that event because our kitchen can't keep up with our regular customers that way. It really was, when I built it, I wasn't really trying to create a restaurant. I thought it was just going to be a little bit of food for people that came into our bar area. And the kitchen was really designed so caterers could come in and handle the events. But it turned into something else. It turned into a full-fledged restaurant.
And you can seat how many people?
The capacity is around 300.
Because I was awestruck last year when we saw it. It was the first time we had seen it since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And not only the bar, this huge circular bar, and I mean huge circular bar, but the party facility, the event facility. Mm-hmm. And do you run that yourself, or do you have an organization that runs it?
Well, we run it. My son is actually the general manager of that building. He handles the bar, the restaurant, and the events. He has managers that work for him that in each department, but he's the general manager.
And you have another son who's working in the business for the summer.
Yes, I mean my youngest son, he has 1 year left in college, and so he's actually working in a distillery with me. And I don't really get to work with him that much. I'm mostly in the office now, but he is being trained in to do what I used to do.
Since you've become a tycoon, you can't.
I never get to do the stuff anymore. And I have several distillers, and they really don't want me around. They don't mind me coming around and talking to them, but they don't want me doing the work anymore. They have their way of doing things.
Now, if you're making Scotch whiskey,
yes,
where would you go for a distiller to make sure that your whiskey is really the best and the most authentic?
Well, our head distiller is from Scotland, and we got.
You brought him over from Scotland?
No, he was living in the United States.
Oh, was he?
Yes, so he had been here for a while, and when he first came over to the United States, he wanted to distill. But there really weren't any distilleries in the United States outside of some of the big ones. And so he ended up going into brewing. And he brewed for 25 years, but then he wanted to get back into distilling. And he came to us and asked us if we were looking. And that's how we ended up with him.
And I met him last year. Well, I met several people in kilts last year, so yes. I assume.
So at Beer and Bluegrass, Bob, our head distiller, and some friends, they do put on their kilts and they play the bagpipes.
Now, if people want to get in touch with you, what's a good contact number?
I think the best way to get in touch with me is either probably info@45thspirits.com, and then I will get it. I will see it.
You have you have a big, impressive website, as a matter of fact.
Oh, good.
That does have pictures.
Yes.
On it of. Unfortunately, we didn't have the pictures in time for the interview here today.
Yes.
But I guess we can probably tell the world that we are looking forward to 45th Parallel Liquors joining us next year as a sponsor starting in 2023.
Good deal.
That will be unique. It's sort of the culmination of a relationship that started because we were so proud of what you were doing as an individual. And here we have to make an appointment to talk to you. Not quite, but
No, it's nice to be invited back.
and well, we're now seen in 35 cities here in Minnesota, and we have to get into Wisconsin also. Get the program over into Wisconsin. We're also on YouTube, so we're seen around the world.
Oh, good.
And I got a call not too long ago from somebody in Germany who had seen one of the programs and then just contacted us. So that'll be good for us and good for you too.
Yes.
And
A lot of our equipment comes from Germany.
you have a tremendous investment in this facility now.
Yes. Yeah, we put a lot into it, and now hopefully my kids will continue on with it, and I believe they will.
I think that they would be very foolish not to.
Yeah.
And your son, the distiller, your son, the event organizer.
Yes.
And maybe your daughter from Montana will come back and
Oh,
handle the public relations.
she loves it in Montana. I don't think she'll come back anymore.
Now, we know that, for instance, when I walk into my favorite restaurant, they have a bottle of 45th Parallel vodka
Yes.
that they keep there for me. Anybody else wants it, they're welcome to it. But and you said you do a lot of boutique operations now, where you'll put labels, either yours or somebody else's.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else? We only have a minute left that you want to cover for the viewing audience.
Well, I think the industry. I was talking to you earlier. Everything is going through changes right now. You know, with supply chain issues, with everything costing more, and I think those are challenges that are experienced by every business. But we're experiencing them too. This is the first year that we've really had to really think about things like that, and so I think people supporting small business is essential, and we appreciate the support that we get.
And we appreciate, really, 45th Parallel Liquors.
Yes.
We know you for a long time, and we're really happy to welcome you on board as a sponsor. And in addition to that, the purity and the quality of the product is really, really not surpassed any place.
Well, thank
and
you.
I know that's because you are so careful. So I think the music is telling us to get off.
Okay.
Paul Werni of 45th Parallel Liquors, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.